My name's Emett Joseph, or Emett Joseph Scalabasi. I go by Emett Joseph though, and I am a wedding and an adventure elopement photographer based in the Pacific Northwest, just outside of Seattle, Washington. And I have been a photographer for about 3 years now. Sure. So what my life looks like on a day-to-day basis actually really changes depending on the time of year. So right now, a lot of what my day looks like is during the day, spending time on my computer, editing pictures, writing blogs, posting on social media like Instagram or Facebook, things like that. And then afterwards, I go to the gym, I hang out with my girlfriend, I pay my rent, and go to the grocery store, do like the very normal things. When it's nicer and warmer in the Pacific Northwest, like in spring and summer and early fall, on a day-to-day basis, I am having conversations with my clients about the day of their session, their photography session, what to wear, what's going to look good, what the weather will be like. And then on that day itself, I can be anywhere from Northern Oregon to Northern Washington, driving around, taking pictures of people, most of the time couples in love celebrating their engagement session or their wedding day, and just soaking that in, having fun with my clients. Yeah, that's a good question. I work for myself. I run my own business, and everything is completely self-employed. I pay myself. My clients pay me, of course, and I run my own business. I do know there are other photographers that work for other companies, but I work for myself. Sure. Yeah. So it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of, it's very time consuming, and it's a lot of balancing, usually like a day job or like what you're doing in the meantime to pay your bills combined with growing a business and working at that and being strategic with your marketing, website building, whether that's handing out business cards or posting on social media or networking. So it's a lot of hard work on the front end. But it's also incredibly rewarding. The pros are that like I'm self-employed, I pay myself, I determine when I work and when I don't work, I go on vacation when I want, all those things. The cons is that it's a lot of really hard work, and if something isn't going well in the business, then it falls back on me. I don't have anyone else to blame. I have to take responsibility for everything that's happening. Weird. I know, totally crazy, right? But so I subscribe to this philosophy of like radical ownership, which is basically anything that's happening within my life or within my business, I have to take responsibility and ownership of. And which, obviously there are things outside of my control, like the way other people react and things like that. But like I have to take a look at everything that is within my control just to make sure my life and my job and my business are going in the direction that I want it to. So technically, there is no education required to become a paid professional photographer. You can be completely self-taught and do everything like that. But there are classes that you can take in college and high school. There are photography courses out there everywhere, whether that's on Skillshare or like other places on the internet, or books that you can read. There's all kinds of information out there to help people be self-taught or to like take a more formal educational route. Personally, I actually dropped out of high school, went back, got my GED, went to community college for a while, and that didn't work out. And I was just kind of floundering about working a corporate job, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Picked up a camera as a hobby and immediately fell in love with it. And the way that I learned was through just practice and experience, just going out, not getting paid, having fun with it, figuring out what I wanted to do with it. And then eventually I did take a pretty formal course online that was specifically for adventure elopement photographers. And it really helped me wrap my head around the business aspect of things, branding, marketing, what all that stuff means, how to have a good client experience. So I have some formal education, but it was nothing like in a school or anything like that. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about photography. There's no certifications. There's nothing out there that says like, oh, I'm certified to photograph a wedding or photograph a portrait. It's all based on like the actual work you have put into the world. Sure. So I always remember when I was younger, like in elementary school, I always wanted to be like an artist, and I always wanted to be my own boss. Like whether it was painting or like playing the cello or the tuba or like whatever. I always wanted to be like an artist, and I always wanted to be self-employed, be my own boss. I hated the idea of working for somebody else and working on somebody else's clock. Like that just didn't click with me. So when I was about 24, I started looking for a new hobby, and I had friends that were photographers. So it was always something that interested me. So I got a used camera from a friend of mine for really cheap and just started playing around with it and realized that I was just naturally good at it, which was great. And I actually really loved the process of taking a photo, going out into the world to do that, and then editing a photo and delivering it or posting it online or printing it. And I started to hear from my other photographer friends that like you could actually make some pretty decent money being like a wedding photographer or different kinds of photography, and that always stuck out to me. And I always wanted to be my own boss, and I always wanted to be an artist. And I figured, you know what, I want to give it a shot. And I fell in love with it because weddings are really special and they're a lot of fun. And being a part of documenting somebody's family history is really important and it's really special. And it gets me out into the world and meeting new people. It's a good time. Sure. So that's actually a really good question because it's not just a black or white answer. There have been times, and especially like in the winter, I can be pretty solitary in that, like, I'm working on my website or blogging or social media marketing, things like that. And so I can be like pretty alone during the week when I'm just working. But on the flip side of things, in the summer, when I'm like attending weddings and things like that, there's a huge guest list of 100, 150 people. Bigger weddings can have 200 or 300 people. Smaller weddings can be about a dozen. So in a sense, I'm working with like those people and like having a lot of fun with them. But as far as coworkers go, for the most part, I don't have any coworkers. I just have friends that are also photographers, and I get to like have a relationship and friendship with them, and that's like the closest you get to like really having a coworker. Absolutely. And I think the most applicative or the best skill that has transferred from past jobs to this one has been learning about customer service and like client experience. And working in mostly customer service positions in the past, I learned a lot about how to keep a customer in a good mood and how to make sure that your interactions with them are positive, and how to kind of anticipate what they're expecting out of you, how to communicate with them. And I think that is almost more important than the photography itself. Because people will usually forget the things you said or the things you did, but like people will always remember how you made them feel. And if you make all of your clients feel great, then you're going to have a huge fan base of people that are always going to be supporting. So three characteristics that are necessary. I think one is being a people person and just being sociable and being able to connect with people or find ways to connect with all sorts of different kind of people. I think that's incredibly important. The next one is, I think, personal accountability, like we talked about earlier, having a growth mindset and being able to take constructive criticism from the right people and know how to apply it in order to grow your business and grow yourself. And I think the third one is I probably being able to visualize what you want and then taking actionable steps to achieve it. I'm not sure like if I could put that in like a very specific kind of characteristic or value under one word, but that is, I think that's been the biggest thing for me, is being able to know what I want and take the steps to go after. Yeah, first and foremost, a camera body and different kinds of lenses. You're going to be able to need to know what all the numbers mean on them, how to use them, how to adjust them, and all that stuff. You need to learn how to do that pretty quickly and on the fly. And there are things like flashes where they can help you manufacture and manipulate and control light. So those are all really important. Beyond the day of, you're going to need to know how to use like a laptop or like a computer to like edit the photos, editing software, post them to social media, market and advertise yourself, and email. I'd say those are like the main pieces of equipment. I can do all of what I do with that. Yes, but that is entirely up to me and whether or not I want to. So last year, for example, I went to San Francisco twice for work, and I went to Oregon a few times, and I also went to Las Vegas. This year, I am focusing on more on staying home and like more around Seattle and Tacoma and the Pacific Northwest and staying a little more local. I want to spend more time at home. So it really depends on the photographer, but you can absolutely travel for work if you want. The main two things that stick out to me are that it is incredibly rewarding in the sense of I get to leave an impact on people's lives that will affect them and like generations to come. And when I'm photographing a couple's wedding and they are the type of couple that wants to have kids or grandkids, they're going to be showing their kids and their grandkids those like wedding photos. And in 50 to 100 years down the road, like future generations are going to be looking back at that and see like, oh, like this is how our family was made. So it's really impactful in that way. And when I can positively impact a couple's wedding day, it's incredibly rewarding. And then on the other side of it as well is it's a lot of fun. Weddings these days are just big parties. They're a good excuse for everyone to get together, dress up, eat a ton of good food, and just have a blast. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. You asked me at a really good time of just like my career. So, and I'll back it up a little bit. My first year, I didn't make much money at all. I think I made like $20,000 total, which is not enough to live off of in today's day and age. The next year, I think I made about 45, $50,000, and a lot of that was business expenses, so a lot of that didn't go straight into my pocket. And then the this year I am projecting to make 60 to $80,000. So, and being a photographer, there is a plateau at how much money you can make, and that's when you can get into hiring associates and building a bigger brand, yada yada yada. As far as lifestyle goes, I'm able to afford a new nice apartment that I really love in a desirable location outside of Seattle, Washington. I can go out to eat a couple times a week if I so choose. Just a couple weeks ago, my girlfriend and I went to Austin, Texas to visit some friends and go on vacation. And I didn't have to stress about that vacation when it comes to money. So it's not like I can go out and buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. I drive a Kia Optima. It's a nice car and I love it. But you can make a lot of money in photography, or you can also live, below your means. And there are struggling periods that I've had, but in today's like day and age, I'm pretty comfortable and happy with the way the biggest stigmas that stick out to me are that people assume it's a hobby and it's not something to be taken seriously. And that's not something that I personally have faced a lot, but it's something I've heard about a lot in the industry. And then the other one is that you have to be stiff and like keep people very posed and standing still for like long periods of time and like things like that, when in reality you can have a lot of fun doing what you do and capture a lot of movement and just like allow people to be themselves. I think those are probably the biggest stigmas that I've seen. And the only way that like I don't think it really negatively affected me, because like I know I take my business seriously and it's not just a hobby. And I also know that I don't make anybody do anything stiff or weird or unbearable while I'm photographing. Positives is that a lot of people know that wedding photography can be a lot of fun because weddings are fun, and being a photographer is fun and it is rewarding and it is creative, and that's like a really positive thing to get to share with people. Positives are it's creative and it's fulfilling, and I get a lot of joy out of what I do. It makes me a very happy person, and I really enjoy my job. I absolutely love my clients, and my clients love me. We actually have like a really good relationship. It's nothing like working in a restaurant or anything like that. We actually enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's friendship, and that I've made some really impactful relationships and friendships throughout this career. I think those are the biggest positives. The negatives are that it's stressful sometimes. It's a lot of work. You know, a wedding day can be a really long day. I can work for 12 to 14 hours in a day sometimes, and my feet hurt, my back is tired, and I want to go to bed, and I miss my girlfriend. Uh, and you know, if something isn't going well in the business, like that's on me to figure it out in such a way that I'll still be able to pay my bills. And that can be really stressful. It can be scary at times. But personally, I find that the positives greatly outweigh. I think the main thing right now that I'm learning is that it is very beneficial to have friendships in the wedding industry. And especially being friends and having connections with other photographers and like wedding planners and wedding venues and things like that. That is something that I wish I started creating and fostering like a long time ago. I did a lot of this stuff just not necessarily on my own, but kind of as a solo photographer, pretty much on my own. And looking back on it, I wish I had started creating relationships. So the funny thing is that's something my girlfriend and I have actually been working on is me taking time off of work. So I'm a pretty obsessive person, so it's really easy for me to spend a lot of time working. It's not necessary though. I think it's very possible to have a good work-life balance and be able to work during the day or at night if that's what somebody prefers, and then in their spare time do whatever they for me, for the most part, I am able to work as much as I want to and get the things done that I need to get done when I'm focused. And then in my free time, I get to hang out with friends, go disc golfing, go hiking. I can take time off to go camping or go on trips. I can go out to eat and like have a good date night with my girlfriend where I'm unplugged from my phone. But on the flip side, there are some cons, like, you know, when I was on vacation this last week and I got emails from clients, that was on me to respond to those. Sure. I think, you know, the best way to do it and probably the safest way to do it is find a friend or a friend of a friend, somebody you know that already does it, and hang out with them, shadow them, and spend a day with them while they're doing their job and see if that makes them excited or happy or if they like the idea of doing that, and then go out and try it for themselves. That's essentially what I did, and it immediately made me excited about the job, and I've been excited about it since. Yeah, I think for for me the biggest thing is there's a thing out there in the world called the sunk cost fallacy, which is the idea that if you have invested a certain amount of time into a certain career path or a certain set of schooling, that you are less likely to do something else, even if you want to. And I think being honest with yourself about what you really want to do and what you really want to try for yourself and not for your family or your friends or anything like that can really help a person find the right job. I think the only thing that, and this is kind of photography specific that I've noticed over the years, and something that I learned early on as a photographer is like the phrase "you can't outshoot a good business owner," and that even if you are very creative and you're in a creative field, I think it takes being a really good business owner to be very successful at it. And I know that's really vague, but that's like taking a look at like people skills, marketing yourself, understanding pricing psychology and like branding psychology behind a business, like logos, colors, how they affect the brain. All those things are just as necessary as being I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. It was pretty unsettling when I first learned that. Was that, oh, you mean I have to work outside of being just visually talented? Like, we have to learn how to play the ball game we're being pitched. And you know, I was thinking about it, and you know, I always wish I had known growing up that this was a career choice, and it was just something that I didn't know. Like, you know, in elementary school, middle school, high school, they don't talk about how you go down this path. So it's nice to know that like this is being used as a platform to expose that